Can you imagine buying a loaf of bread at the blank corner store just by showing your face, while at the same time being completely unable to access YouTube, no matter how hard you try? There is a country where more than 2,000 years ago, an emperor ordered 8,000 life-size clay warriors to be buried beside him, each with a unique face, and even today the excavation is still unfinished. It is a nation nearly 5 times larger than Mexico, where it makes no difference whether you are in the far east or the far west, because everyone follows the exact same official time. It may sound unbelievable, but every part of it is absolutely real. Welcome to China. Stay with us until the very end as we count down to fact number 1, because we promise you will never see it coming. Number 10. Before anything else, you need to understand one thing: China's size. It is the world's 3rd largest country, behind only Russia and Canada, covering nearly 9,600,000 square kilometers. To put that into perspective, for American viewers, you could fit Mexico inside China almost 5 times and still have plenty of space remaining across its vast landscape. China shares borders with blank 14 countries, more than almost any other nation on Earth, including Russia, Mongolia, North Korea, Vietnam, India, Pakistan, blank, and so many others that it almost feels endless. But here is the part that truly surprises people. Draw an imaginary diagonal line across the country, and you will discover that over 90% of its 1,400 million people live in the eastern half. Meanwhile, the western half, dominated by mountains, deserts, and frozen grasslands, remains remarkably empty. It is almost as if everyone in the continental United States chose to live only along the east coast and left the rest of the country nearly deserted. Even more surprising, although China stretches across the equivalent of 5 time zones, the government decided decades ago that the entire nation would follow a single official clock, Beijing time. As a result, in Western China, the sun can rise as late as 10 o'clock in the morning, and people simply accept it because that is the official schedule. Imagine if Los Angeles and New York were required to use exactly the same local time every single day. Welcome to the unique logic of China. With a country this vast and such an uneven population spread, how does it keep people moving, stay connected, and make everything work? That is exactly where the story becomes even more fascinating for every curious traveler around the world today. Number 9. If you think you have already seen cutting-edge technology, wait until you hear this. China has the largest high-speed rail network on Earth, with more than 50,000 kilometers of track. To put that into perspective, in 2008, the country had only a few hundred kilometers. Less than 20 years later, it operates more high-speed rail than the rest of the world combined. A train covers the 1,300 kilometers between Beijing and Shanghai in just 4.5 hours, while traveling at 350 kilometers per hour. That is like going from Mexico City to Tijuana in the time it takes to watch 2 movies. And that is only the beginning. China also built a bridge stretching more than 160 kilometers. In fact, 7 of the 10 tallest bridges on the planet are found. In many Chinese cities, carrying cash has become uncommon. Simply scan a QR code or verify your identity with facial recognition, and the payment is complete. You can buy anything from a bowl of noodles to an apartment. Even a fruit vendor on a street corner often has a QR code attached to the stand, making small businesses more digitally connected than many companies across the United States. But here is where things take an unexpected turn. While paying with your face is perfectly normal, accessing Google, Instagram, or WhatsApp is not. Those services are restricted by what is commonly called the Great Firewall. Instead, people rely on homegrown platforms. WeChat handles messaging, Baidu powers online searches, and Bilibili provides video content. China has built its own digital ecosystem alongside the global internet. It feels like a completely different online world with its own rules. Yet, behind every statistic are millions of people working to keep this country moving forward. And there is one group in particular that has probably captured your curiosity. Number 8. And here is the topic you have probably been waiting for. What are women in China really like? Because the image people have, quiet, submissive, always walking 3 steps behind, has very little in common with what you will actually see while exploring cities like Shanghai or Chengdu. In China's largest cities, women pursue higher education, work incredibly long hours, build their own businesses, and rise through the ranks of some of the world's biggest technology companies. In fact, China has one of the highest percentages of women in management positions anywhere in Asia. Yet, like many countries around the world, the gender pay gap continues to exist. On average, women earn less than men doing the same job, and the higher they climb the corporate ladder, the wider that gap often becomes. Even today, reaching success can still come with a greater financial disadvantage because they are women. Culturally, many women continue to carry, sometimes proudly and sometimes reluctantly, the influence of Confucianism, the ancient philosophy that places family above the individual. They are often expected to care for their parents, marry, and have children according to an unwritten social timeline that almost everyone recognizes. At the same time, those same streets are home to a younger generation with a different outlook. Many young women follow Korean beauty tutorials, post photos in traditional Hanfu outfits across social media, and check a potential partner's WeChat before a first date, much like someone reviewing a resume. Here is another fascinating fact. China has proportionally more men than women, a lasting result of decades of birth control policies. In many regions, marriage has become highly competitive, with a groom's family often expected to prove they own a home, a car, and enough savings before the bride's family agrees. Love alone is rarely seen as enough without financial security. Caught between centuries of tradition and the relentless pace of modern life, today's Chinese women reflect the country's own transformation, with one foot rooted in 5,000 years of history and the other stepping into the future. And when it comes to those 5,000 years of history, that is where the next chapter becomes astonishing. Number 7. To understand how Chinese society thinks, you need to understand the 3 traditions that have shaped the lives of 1.4 billion people for more than 2,000 years. The surprising part is that these traditions do not compete with one another. Confucianism places family above the individual. Taoism teaches people to move through life like flowing water instead of forcing every outcome. Buddhism, which arrived from India centuries ago, blended so deeply with local customs that it became uniquely Chinese. The same person may marry according to Confucian traditions, approach everyday life with a Taoist mindset, and honor a grandparent through Buddhist rituals without seeing contradiction. It is similar to someone in the United States attending church, believing in good luck rituals, and reading a horoscope in the same week. This is also the birthplace of Kung Fu, a philosophy of life expressed through movement that is still taught today in schools across the United States and many other countries, even though most people do not realize they are practicing a tradition that is more than 1,000 years old. And this spiritual heritage eventually laid the foundation for one of humanity's most extraordinary achievements. Number 6. In 1974, a group of farmers were digging a well near Xi'an when one of their shovels suddenly struck something that was not dirt. It was the head of a clay figure with a human face. By complete accident, they uncovered one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in history, the Terracotta Army. More than 2,200 years ago, long before the Aztec Empire existed, Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the ruler who first unified China, ordered an entire army of life-size clay soldiers to be created to protect him in the afterlife. More than 8,000 warriors were built, each with unique facial features, hairstyles, and expressions, as if every soldier had posed for an individual portrait over 23 centuries ago. Even more remarkable, archaeologists estimate they have not yet excavated half of the burial complex because the emperor's central mausoleum remains sealed, and no one wants to risk damaging whatever still lies inside. That same emperor also began the project that centuries later became the longest structure ever built by human hands, the Great Wall of China. Stretching more than 21,000 kilometers, its walls, towers, and fortresses were constructed over nearly 2,000 years. Here is another surprising fact. One secret behind the wall's incredible durability is sticky rice, an ingredient few people would ever expect to find in ancient construction. Yes, it is true. Ancient builders mixed sticky rice flour into the mortar, creating an adhesive strong enough to survive earthquakes, wars, and centuries of harsh weather. And despite one of the world's most famous myths, the Great Wall cannot be seen from space with the naked eye, something astronauts have repeatedly confirmed. Several astronauts have confirmed that over the years, So it is finally time to retire that popular myth. One emperor built an army of clay and the longest structure in human history, all to protect what he believed was sacred for generations to come. And if you think that is impressive, wait until you discover what nature created entirely on its own, revealing another breathtaking side of China. Number 5. When James Cameron was looking for inspiration for the world of Avatar, he did not have to imagine it from scratch. He traveled to Zhangjiajie in southern China, where